This constitutes a security hazard.
Hello everyone, Jack here, hope you are doing well. Welcome back to Security Hazard Minis. Today we are talking all about Stingray. If you love the adventures of the Supermarionation Super Submarine, then I think this is going to be the video for you. I'm taking a look at the Matchbox toys today that were produced in around 1992. These were produced to tie in with the repeat runs on BBC Two that were happening in the UK at the time. And, you know, obviously Matchbox produced toys for Thunderbirds as well, and then you have Vivid Imaginations doing Captain Scarlet around that time. So just a big explosion of Gerry Anderson toys and merchandise coming out in the 90s. And fortunately, Stingray got to kind of be a part of that. Not necessarily as big of a toy line as something like Thunderbirds had, but still pretty respectable. So these are all kind of secondhand, well-loved versions of those toys. So we'll get into the specific condition of each of these in a moment. But just so you know, like these are not in pristine condition, but they're still a lot of fun. So let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the action figures. They produced 5 action figures in this range, representing some of the major characters in the series. Let's start off with Mr. Troy Tempest himself. Pretty nice figure overall, really. In terms of articulation, you've got sort of a twist at the head, twisting at the shoulders, and then at the legs as well. So nothing particularly extraordinary about it, but perfectly serviceable. They do a pretty good job of capturing the likeness of Troy himself, like his face. That definitely looks like Troy to me. And then the Wasp uniform is pretty good. On this Troy figure, some of the colouring around the arms and the legs has sort of gone a bit funny. I don't know whether that was an issue with the original paint applications or whether just because this figure is quite old now, it's difficult to know. One of the details that I appreciate that they've done, and you'll see it also on the Phones figure in Commander Shaw, is they've given them sort of different sleeves, like different cuffs at the sleeve. So that's sort of meant to distinguish their ranks. Obviously, in the show itself, I think the ranks are kind of signified by the shoulder pad things. So it's kind of a shame that they didn't replicate that perfectly. But the fact that they went to the effort of like sculpting individual arm pieces for each character is quite good. So yeah, probably also worth saying these did all originally come with accessories, but I never received them. Let's put it that way. As long as I've ever had these figures, they never had accessories, so I don't know. Who knows where those ended up? But it's fine. They still work without the accessories. But yeah, really nice. I like all the sculpting of like the gun holster at the side. The Wasp insignia on the arms and the hat as well looks really good. Yeah, overall just a solid effort. And then it's a similar story really when we come to look at Phones. If I can get Troy to stand up there. When we come to look at Phones, also a very nice figure. And of course I drop his one accessory. Excuse me. There we go. The one accessory I do still have is Phones', of course, his headphones, which sit really comfortably on top of his head, really quite well. So that's a very nice accessory there. I would say actually the sculpt on his face is more probably because it's a more caricatured face in general, like on the character. They've got a little bit more detail there, and I think the paint applications are slightly nicer as well. So yeah, this is a really great figure, really great likeness for Phones. Very happy to have him. So let's just see if we can pop his headphones back on, and again see if we can get him to just stand up at the back there. Now let's go to Marina. And this is quite a different figure from the rest because she has a solid body. Her legs do not articulate because of the dress. It's all been molded in one plastic. Still has articulation at the arms and at the head, but the legs do not move, which we'll see in a moment why that's not necessarily ideal. But the detailing is really nice. Like it's a very close approximation for her costume. That the character's dress that she wears in most of the series. It looks pretty close to it. It is lacking some of the finer details, but that's okay. The one thing they really didn't get right, in my opinion, is the hair color. They've gone for this sort of very generic brown hair color, when of course her hair is sort of a greeny, silvery type color in the show. But one of those things they just couldn't quite manage to do, I suppose. The face is a really good likeness. Considering it's not, she's got quite delicate features. They actually transfer to the sculpt really, really well, and the paint applications are really good as well. So yeah, very good figure overall. It would have been nice if they could have gotten all the articulation in there, but I can understand why with the dress they couldn't quite manage that. Her, not to get too into the weeds, but her toes are sticking out at the bottom of the dress, and it's hard to tell whether those are webbed or not. Because Marina does have webbed feet. So there you go. Here's Commander Shaw. Again, quite a unique figure in that he's in his hover chair, which has been sort of molded all in one bit of plastic. Would have been nice to have more detail on the chair, like having some paint applications just to pick out some of the details so that it looks closer to what it looks like in the show. That would have been good. The color also is kind of like not accurate, really, but it's very obvious what it's supposed to be, and it works just fine. But again, it means that articulation is limited to just the head and the arms. And again, Commander Shaw does have customized, like, special shoulders that differ slightly from Troy and Phones, so that's really good. I mean, the likeness for his face is okay-ish, I suppose. It looks sort of like Commander Shaw if he was sort of 10, 20 years younger. I think they could have gone a bit grayer on the hair, and maybe if they could have gotten more age detail onto his face, that would have been nice. But overall, I mean, it's still obvious who it's supposed to be. But there you go. I'm nitpicking at this point, if you couldn't tell. And then finally, the last figure in the range is Titan, the evil Titan. This figure probably the least impressive of the bunch, to be honest. Just in terms of screen accuracy levels, they didn't really try too hard. Like his skin color, they've gone for silver instead of sort of the greeny metallic-y thing. His they've gone for a sort of very pale lavendery type color for his costume, when it's sort of much darker and richer on screen. His facial hair is basically blue on this figure, which that doesn't look right. And then the fact he's not got a cape, I feel like the cape on the the original character does so much to suggest his dominance and strength. So the fact he doesn't have a cape, it just sort of makes him look like any other underwater alien. Really does have the web feet, so that's important. But yeah, otherwise, that I like that they molded the collar, and that's sort of a separate piece there. That looks good, but it's just a shame they couldn't have done a bit more with it. But yeah, those are the figures. There are 5 of them. Obviously, if I was going to ask for more figures, I would definitely want to see Atlanta in there. I think she's such a major character. It's a real pity that she wasn't included in this range. X20 as well, of course, would have been amazing. I don't think there's any question about that. But if you had to pick only 5 characters from Stingray to produce as figures, those will be the ones to pick. So I think it's kind of fair enough. Now, we've got the figures, but we also have Stingray itself. This is an action figure compatible Stingray playset. And this is a really, really nice thing. Very, very happy to have this. So, I mean, let's dig into some of the features of this immediately. Probably the most prominent thing is the fact that you can take the top of it off, just give it a quick squeeze and lift that off. And you've got an interior there. Doesn't exactly match what's in the TV series, because instead of 2 seats next to each other, they've gone one behind the other. But it does mean that you can position figures inside. And I have to say, the detailing in the cockpit and everything is really good as well. So let's sit Troy in there, and you know what? Let's sit Phones in there as well. I'm going to take his headphones off for a while. So the characters just sit inside like so. And there you go. That's just them, just there really. And I can put the top on, and they're inside, and you can see Troy sitting inside there. It's great. It's really really cool to see. Now the problem comes when you want to get some of the other characters in the range in there. Obviously, Titan has all the articulation that the other figures have, so he can just sit inside there, and that's no problem at all. The issue comes. Oh, I'm knocking all my figures over. The issue comes when it gets to a character like Marina. Can't bend her legs, so she just sort of lies down there in the back of Stingray, and I don't think there's any chance of her being able to steer. Can we put the top on? You can put the top on with her inside, but she has to sort of lie down in there, which is, just not ideal. And then as for Commander Shaw doesn't really fit in there at all properly, which is a shame. And the only reason why I really call that out is, considering there are only 5 action figures in the whole range, the fact that only 3 of them can fit inside the vehicle is sort of, I don't know. I don't know what they could have done differently to design this interior so that more figures could fit, because honestly, I think they've made a really good use of the space. I think they've been quite clever about it. So I don't know what they could have done differently, but it's just, it would have been nice to be able to get more figures inside. But yeah, that's the interior. The only other feature to speak with on top there is the periscope that goes up and down. That's very nice to see. Now, in terms of play features, the main one on this is the fact that it can fire Sting missiles. And the way it does that is there are hatches on either side, which I can open up here. And you can see in there, there's a total of 4 bright red Sting missiles that this set comes with. And then there are little spring-loaded actuators there, which if I brace yourselves, there he goes, fired a missile across there. So that's a really nice sort of simple mechanism. And the fact it has a sort of storage area for spare missiles as well, I think that's really good. And, the fact that I haven't lost the missiles over the years speaks to the fact that they're quite easy to store away. So that's really nice. Of course, you've got the Rate Master accelerator thing spinning away at the back. I mean, listen to this. That is the sound of 1990s plastic on a 1990s metal rod. So it does make a bit of a racket, but the transparent plastic and everything that's used on there, that's really nice. I really appreciate that. And then in terms of other details that have sort of been sculpted in, speaking of transparent plastic, we've got the aqua sprites on here as well. Close approximations of the aqua sprites anyway. I mean, obviously they're not in scale with the figures or anything like that, but the fact that they're there and that they've been sort of highlighted is kind of cool. And then the other thing is on the bottom, you have the skids. No sort of painting or detail added to the hull to speak of, but just the fact the skids are there is quite nice. And it means you can just put it down quite nicely. I think the coloring is really good. The paint applications are really sharp and crisp and look great. They're really, I couldn't have asked for much better with this. It's really nice. So very happy with that. Very happy to have an action figure compatible Stingray there. Very, very good toy. Now, scaling down slightly, or scaling up, scaling down, one of the two. Anyway, we have these little diecast Stingrays. I have 2 here. They're supposed to be the same, but they're in different conditions, which is why I bothered to include both of them in this video. And this, captures all the details of Stingray. It actually has, compared to this larger toy, actually has the sort of pointier nose. It's sort of slightly more precise in terms of the shaping of the vehicle, so that's really good. Does have a little plastic periscope on the top. I don't think I've ever seen one of these where the periscope isn't snapped off, so that's just sort of something you have to accept. That will happen. And they do have the rate master again spinning at the back, which is great. Yeah, overall really nice little diecast toys, not supremely detailed, and not totally accurate, but that, like, for example, there's only printing on the one side. It says Stingray on that side and the number 3, and then there's nothing on this side, which is kind of a shame. But they're good enough. They're just fine. And then also in that same sort of area, we have a mechanical fish or a terrorfish as well, which is really nicely done. I think they've got the shaping on this just right. The front of it is basically metal, and then the back is plastic. And what's really cool about this is it has a sort of counterweighted mouth flap, which means that for firing missiles, it sort of can open and close just by itself, which I think is really nice. So yeah, really good detail. Nice that I think that you could get the Stingray and the Terrorfish sort of packaged together, and that makes for a really nice little set. So very happy to see that they did go to the effort of doing a mechanical fish. But now I think it's time we came to the main feature, don't you? Let's just pop Stingray over there, and let's take a quick look at Marineville. So this is the Marineville playset. This one is not in top-notch condition, I will just say that now. But let's start at the top. So we've got the control tower here, really nicely detailed. I mean, I think the overall shape of the building is absolutely perfect. I don't think they could have done anything else with this. But what you'll first of all notice is that there's all these stickers on the windows that have gotten really discolored over time, but they show people, working inside the building and stuff like that. And, as an additional optional play feature, you can also spin the top of the control tower around. Maybe you think that's what happens in the show. I don't know. Couldn't tell you either way. But the great thing is you take off the roof and you're left with an interior of the whole control room, which looks amazing. The amount of detail that's in the artwork on these, bearing in mind it is so teeny tiny, but it looks really, really good. You've got, little video screens with Stingray on there. You've got the world map, all sorts of doors and buttons and levers and things like that, all very, very screen accurate, which is remarkable for the amount of detail. And also, because these stickers are inside on my one, it means they haven't discolored nearly as badly as everything else. So that's a bonus. One thing to say about the control tower is round the back, they didn't sort of bother to color the red squares on the back of the tower. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, for the most part, it looks fine. It's not really an issue. But there we go. In terms of other detail around the top, a lot of it is missing on my one, but I know for a fact that there should be plastic lampposts that go in here and a security gate that goes across the front. The one thing I do still have is the security checkpoint sort of building there, which again is really nice. If you look at the stickers on there, you can see people inside, and just the attention to detail is just really, really nice on that artwork. I really can't fault it. Of course, we have all these stickers here that are supposed to represent green grass. For some reason, they've all turned blue on my one, so that's a bit unfortunate, but there we go. And then there we go. Now, of course, the main play feature of this set is that we can go to battle stations. So here's what we do for that. We basically can, with a gentle hand, we can get the control tower to sink down into the ground. And there's that, and it's below ground. Of course, the top of the tower doesn't quite sink all the way down, but that's okay. I always wanted as a kid that if only there was a sort of roof panel that sort of slided across the top, that would have been really cool. But again, I kind of appreciate why that wasn't there. And then the other, again, battle stations feature is we can lift up these Wasp interceptors up above the ground, if I can get them to click into place. So you get 2 of those, and these can launch sort of individually. So, you have blast off a wasp interceptor. Now, these are not the most detailed rockets ever seen, but they do come in 2 parts, which again is sort of an extra play feature, I suppose, that they can separate off. But in terms of the detailing, it is literally just white plastic with the red text saying wasp on it. So not particularly screen accurate. The shaping's not bad, but yeah, maybe could have done a bit more to make those wasps rockets look better. I'm just going to pop those back below ground, and I'm going to lift the control tower back up again. Because what I really want to take a look at here is the artwork that's inside Marineville, in the underground cavern where all the buildings go. There's a really nice amount of detail in the artwork on here. You've got like hover bikes and trucks and the power plant, and there's a rocket in the back, being moved about. Just there's lots of activity going on. And that's what I really like about this set is it's really simple, but because of all the artwork and things like that, it just suggests that there's more going on than there is. And I think that's a really good kind of, looking at this as a toy, it really sparks a good amount of like imaginative play going on. So can't argue with that. That's really, really nice. And then finally, the one other feature, if I pop Stingray in at the back here, and then this is definitely made for small hands, but I can just about do it. The ocean door, which is bright red, the ocean door opens up, and out comes Stingray. Whoosh! There we go. So that's perfect. I mean, as I say, it's a really simple toy. There are no sort of sound effects, no electronic features, nothing like that. But what it does do, it does really well. And I think that that's really great. I really appreciate that. Honestly, I'm not sure what features they could have added to make it more like Marineville. Obviously, if they'd added more buildings or something like that, that would have been great. But obviously, then it would have cost so much more to produce and to sell and things like that. So I think overall, it's a as I say, a simple set, but it just does the job really nicely. So very, very happy with that. But uh, let's see, if I had to pick a favorite from this whole range, I think it would probably have to be the Stingray playset overall. I just think, again, simple, straightforward, but what it does do, it does really, really well. And of course, a couple of years later, Vivid Imaginations for the sort of early 2000s run of Gerry Anderson merchandise, they did another one of these for their slightly smaller little figures. So I do have one of those. So maybe in another video I will take a look at that as well. But that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you had any of these Stingray toys as a kid, or if there was anything that you were ever like, oh, I really would have liked one of those. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. I do these security hazard mini videos every single week. And if you really want to show your support, you can head over to ko-fi.com/Jack Knoll. Give as much or as little as you like. Please give what you can, but only if you can. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Otherwise, take care. Bye for now.
Security hazard negative.